Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the Samsung Series 5 Model 550 Chromebook. This runs Chrome OS 19, totally an online operating system, and this is a 12.1-inch notebook computer running on a Celeron. Remember the Celeron CPU? We're going to take a look at it now. So this is what you would call the second generation Chromebook, and there are some improvements over the first generation that we're going to talk about. But first, to take a look around, obviously we're looking at the lid right now, Samsung logo, Chrome logo right here. Matte finish, not the shiny stuff that we saw in last gen Samsung Chromebook. 12.1-inch display, 800 by 480 resolution. Not too thick, not too thin, certainly not ultrabook thin, but not horribly beefy either. Rubber feet, stereo speakers, one on each side, anemically lightweight and thin speakers, you'll hear them for yourself. Some vents right here. And right there, there's the Ethernet pop-up, and that's one of the things that's new. We've got Ethernet jack for those who prefer wired networks, and probably this is for companies and for educational folks who actually need things like, well, wired Ethernet. And we've also got a display port for monitor out now, so you're not limited to just the internal panel, and that's a full-size display port. Rocking USB 2.0 port there, your combo mic headphone jack. This is where you plug the power in. A little typical Samsung dip that you see here in the Series 5. It's kind of neat looking. And this side, another USB 2.0 port, your Kensington lock slot, and the SD card door, which is nicely hidden by this little flap right there. And the back, you can see the hinges. Now, you don't need a hugely robust hinge for a 12-inch, 3-pound machine, and these are certainly more than adequate. And here we have a SIM card slot, though. In the US, this is available Verizon Wireless 3G, not 4G. That does use an LTE SIM, so I assume this would be for the overseas models right here. And if we open it up, you can see it resumes very quickly. Matte display, 300 nits of brightness, so brightness is good, but this is just an average TN panel. Again, it's 1280 by 800 resolution. Not exactly super high resolution, but it's easy on the eyes, you can see stuff. Typical of a lower end TN panel, though, you really have to angle this back and forth to find the sweet spot where things don't look washed out and Blackstone invert. And so you just can see what I mean. Look at the difference just as we bring this a little bit more upright. And I've just barely moved that, maybe ½ an inch, so definite sweet spot there. Trackpad, large, nice, much improved over previous generation Chromebooks, pretty responsive, pleasant to use in general, and really good keyboard. We take a look at the keyboard here, you can see. Raised chiclet keys, a good size for a 12-inch machine, nice tactile feedback, good travel. You've got your arrow cluster over here. Some of the keys that you'd expect to see on a Windows or a Mac machine are obviously missing because, well, this runs Chrome OS. It doesn't run Windows, it doesn't run Mac OS, it doesn't run Linux, it runs Chrome. Power button is right there, and a couple of navigation buttons up here because basically the OS is essentially a web browser. You're going to be living inside the Chrome OS web browser, so keys are really dedicated more toward that page navigation. This is your refresh button right here, for example. You've got your audio controls right there and your brightness controls. And since this is Google, of course, we have a search button. And up here we have our 1-megapixel webcam that works with Google Talks video chat feature and has built-in microphone as well, or you can use that audio jack if you prefer. So what's inside this thing? You have 4 gigs of DDR3 RAM, a 1.3 gigahertz Intel Celeron. Now that might sound kind of sad, but honestly Chrome OS doesn't really need much power. Again, it really is just basically running a web browser, has your complete experience with a whole lot of extensions, Chrome extensions on board. And that is an improvement over the Atom CPU that was in the last generation Chromebook. The bad part, though, about moving up to the Celeron is battery life. The first gen Chromebook, they claimed up to 10 hours of battery life, and for this one, they claim about 6. So far, it actually has been doing pretty well. We have been getting fairly close to 6 with brightness set at about 50% and Wi-Fi on. This has Intel integrated graphics. It has 16 gigs of flash storage. That's it. Now, I guess you don't really need much storage, they figure, because pretty much everything you're going to be doing on the cloud. And we're going to talk about that soon. You do have that SD card slot for some form of storage expansion, and you can put documents on there, photos, whatever it is you like. The Samsung Series 5 Model 550 Chromebook sells for $550 as configured here. Our version has both Wi-Fi and it's dual band Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN. and Verizon 3G. And for up to 2 years, you get 100 megabytes a month of data free. Now, what happens if you exceed that, because really 100 megs is not very much, and you are likely to if you're going to rely on that a lot, it's just going to basically cut off your internet connection via Verizon. But if you want to pay some money, you can extend that. For example, you can go up to 5 gigs for $50. But you don't have to worry about what happens if you happen to creep over your limit. You're not going to get some surprise bill or anything like that. If you want it without the Verizon module, then it's $449. Either way, you're not looking at a cheap machine here, and that really hurts it. Now, I don't know if in part that Google didn't want folks buying Chromebooks just for the hardware and then putting Windows, Linux, or the operating system of their choice on it, but obviously these are very low-end, mediocre specs here, really not speaking of anything that exceeds a netbook. In fact, it's a bit below in terms of storage capacity. So the hardware you're getting for your money, well, that's not here. Basically, you're paying the money if you want the Chrome experience, if you want to try something new, if you want to be different, if you despise Windows, what have you. Though Chrome OS supports Bluetooth, it does not have a built-in Bluetooth radio either, but you can use a Bluetooth dongle, say if you want to use a Bluetooth mouse or something like that, or you can go with one of those USB 2.0 ports and an actual wired mousey. Alright, so let's take a look at Chrome OS. What exactly is it? You're looking at a desktop right here, aren't you? This is not the desktop as you know it though, folks. You can't go throwing your documents up here, shortcuts, that kind of thing. No, you're just going to look at that pretty or not so pretty picture. You can change your wallpaper, so have no fear. You can put the prettiest picture in your collection up there for your wallpaper. We do have, however, these handy little shortcuts down here to various functions now. Tapping on this brings up all the apps that I've installed. A couple are pre-installed, and what these are, they are not really apps per se, they are Chrome extensions. Those of you who use Chrome on the desktop know you can add a whole lot of neat things onto Chrome. So for example, we have the Netflix add-on, we have the Google Maps add-on, we have the Google Drive, the Google Reader. Well, pretty much the Google everything there, but obviously it's not just limited to Google stuff. Chrome Web Store, and this is where you're going to go to get more extensions. So here we are in the Chrome Web Store, and like I said, despite the name store, it doesn't mean these things cost anything. Pretty much everything here is free. So if you like Picasa, you've got Picasa. If you want TweetDeck, you've got TweetDeck, and all these run inside this here web browser frame. They run inside the Chrome web browser. So there's actually a lot of stuff to choose from. Flickster, WeatherBug. This is sort of like the mobile OS experience you have with iOS and Android, where instead of just using the web browser and going from place to place, you have these little encapsulations that make it look a little bit friendlier and easier to get to. So say we want to install Flickster. We just click on the Add to Chrome button. And then it switches here to show us where it is, because it's really fast. Notice here, there's Flickster, and I've just downloaded Bejeweled as well. So let's check out Flickster. So sure, you're running this in a web browser, but obviously the look and feel are fairly customized to make it, well, a little more, sort of like a mobile OS, very friendly and a little bit more directed instead of just looking at a regular web page view. Of course, you can go to any regular web page you want with this, so let's just run over to New York Times so you can see what that's like. And there's your good old New York Times homepage, just like you would see it on any computer. And the browser, or shall we say the operating system in this case, does indeed support Adobe Flash. It is integrated into the operating system, so you don't just get YouTube, you just get all Adobe Flash goodness here. So here we have a review of our ThinkPad X1 Carbon, and we have an embedded YouTube video here. Now we'll test that out. And you have your usual Flash Player controls here, and we'll try and bring it up to 720p, see how it does. One thing I've noticed is lip sync is very rarely good on the Chromebook, even if it's windowed and not full screen. So we have all of our Chrome extensions that we've downloaded here that function, well, pretty much like applications. And this right here, well, obviously this is going to take you to Chrome. There's the little Chrome symbol, i.e. the web browser. There's your Gmail. There's your Google search, there's your YouTube shortcut, there's your Google Drive for online document storage, which you're going to be using a lot with this device, and this is where we are right now, looking at everything that we have downloaded in the way of extensions. So we've just popped in our full-size SD card here, which you can see does stick out some on the side. And it's automatically put up this window here, and it shows us everything that is on the card. And this is actually a demo card that Google provided, so we've got a mix of faux documents and photos and music and all that kind of thing. So first we're going to take a look at photos. And here you can see we can actually cycle through all the photos that are in that directory, and if you want to share or edit, there's your shortcuts right there. Now if you want to edit, it's pretty basic stuff, but this is new for Chrome OS 19. You have autofix, crop, brightness, rotation, and undo. And if you want to share, you can send it to Picasso. Sadly, no Facebook, no Twitter, it's Picasso here. And if we want to take a look at a resume, here we have the offline document viewer. Now for anything that we have stored on our Google Drive, it's going to open up with full Google Docs editing capabilities. Right now we're just in viewer function. Formatting is pretty good. As you see, the speed is good on the OS overall. And now in contrast here, I've just opened up something that's on our Google Drive, and you can see I have all the formatting commands here that you would expect from Google Docs. So, capable word processing as long as you have an internet connection. And if you want to access files that are stored locally and are online, you go right here. We've got our downloads shortcut for anything that I've downloaded from the web. For example, I downloaded this document from my Google Drive. We have our Google Drive shortcut, and Chrome means what's stored locally. And we'll check out some videos before we go.
This is how you boot up a Chromebook in 8 seconds.
And that is true. Boots up very quickly, just open the lid and it does it.
That's it, commercial's over. Scram, skedaddle, aloha. That means hello and goodbye. This time means goodbye.
And there you have the speakers. That is just about maximum volume there. And for playing music, it's not bad, especially if you've got an audio file that's encoded fairly loudly. Some of my MP3s encoded by iTunes are not that loud, but these sample files are doing pretty well here. So you've got this little player, you can leave it playing in the background while you're doing other things. So that's the Samsung Series 5 Model 550 Chromebook, second generation Chromebook. It's available now. You can get one at Best Buy, for example. Again, $450 for the one with just Wi-Fi, $550 for the one that has Verizon Wireless 3G inside in the US. And as you can see, it really is life in a web browser. It's, I think, still a product that may be a bit ahead of its time. For those of us who don't always have a wireless connection handy, even with that Verizon 3G backup, and Verizon eVideo is decent, but it's not 4G LTE. You're going to be waiting when you're using that, and obviously you're going to have to pay for that service. But it can be very limiting. You have a power failure. Well, gee, you got plenty of charge in your notebook, but your router's down. There's not so much you can do with this device. If you're traveling away from a Wi-Fi hotspot, it becomes less useful. Now, I can see this certainly in school and business settings where they have a pervasive internet connection that rarely goes down. But for home consumption, a little bit difficult. Also, there's only so much you can do inside of a web browser. And you see a lot of these applications really just are shortcuts to a website with a custom web page for the device. There's really nothing as sophisticated going on as you could have with the standalone application. And for those of you who are just looking for a small, lightweight, alternative kind of operating system notebook, something that is pretty much instant on the way the Chromebook is, of course, there's also Android, and right here we have the Asus Transformer Pad Infinity TF700 with the optional keyboard dock. Even lighter, these two together, they're actually under 3 pounds and a bit smaller. And what do you get? You get a better display. You get a much more functional device when you're offline, as you can have office suites, video players, everything that you want here without actually having to be online. And granted, the TF700 is the top-of-the-line 1080p display version. But if you go for the TF300 version, which has just a standard 1280 by 800 display, otherwise looks pretty much identical except for a plastic casing on the outside, same kind of keyboard dock design, you're looking about the same price as the Chromebook, which is kind of a big ouch there. Likewise, one of the Chromebook's big problems is that for $500, $550, you can get a pretty decent Windows machine, so you're giving up a lot of functionality. So, hate to pick on Chrome OS, but right now I just don't feel like its time has come. Android's a go, certainly Windows, Mac, Linux for productivity and entertainment too. But for those of you who are ready for the brave new world of cloud computing and you're just really dying to try Chrome OS, well, there it is, the Samsung Series 5 Chromebook Model 550. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.